Hi, welcome to Knit with Hannah. We're talking more about knitting for profit today, and I'm going to give you 5 mistakes you need to avoid if you are knitting for profit. Hi, welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. I'm here with Knitting Nanta to help you learn to knit the easy way. Let's talk more about knitting for profit today. Go and have a look at last week's video as well. I was talking more about knitting for profit. I was talking about pricing your knits when you want to sell them. So yeah, that video is going to be really helpful. But first, let's talk about 5 mistakes that you want to avoid if you are knitting for profit. Okay, do have a quick look at the subscribe button. Maybe you want to hit it if you've watched a few of my videos already. There it is down below. Hit the subscribe button and click on the little bell and you'll be notified whenever a new video appears. So what's the first mistake you need to avoid when you are knitting for profit? Okay, hiding. I've seen too many craft fairs where the person who's selling, the person who's created all these fabulous things, is cowering in the corner. Maybe they're chatting with the stall holder next door because they know each other, and they're kind of ignoring the customers because they're too scared to sit there and chat. I made myself... You may know this already because I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. I'm an introvert, but when I did sell my knitting and I was there with a craft fair stall, I would make myself stand up and say hi and welcome, to say, can I help you at all, to anyone who appeared at my stall. It meant that those who did appear weren't scared to ask me questions. It meant that I was welcoming. It meant that they knew who I was. That lady behind the stall is the one who's knitted all these things. They could have been sitting there thinking, oh, maybe it's the person's sister, or maybe they got no idea who knitted all this stuff. Maybe they didn't know anything about knitting and they're just there as a favour for the person who is the knitter. So it could be that they don't even know whether they want to ask questions. You need to invite them into your little brand and say, this is me, this is my knitting, I want to welcome you. If you sell things online, you can do exactly the same thing. In the Etsy shop, there's an about page. There's an about page on the website as well. Make sure you've got a photograph of yourself up there so they say, I can put a face to the knitter. And if you've got an IG, Instagram account as well, or a Facebook account that you can fill with photographs, not only of your items, but with information about how you knit, why you knit, who you are as a person, that will mean they get to know you and they are more welcome to invite that brand into their lives. The second mistake is that you are going to try and sell everything instead of niching. This is a mistake because people are going to come back to you and go, I can't remember whether I bought this from you or was it someone else. But I really love it. Have you made them again? And you're going to stand there and go, which pattern was it? Which yarn was it? I can't remember whether I knitted that or whether my friend over on that other stall knitted it. You need to present yourself as a brand within a niche and say, I knit baby items. I knit children's hats and scarves. I knit ladies' berets. Some of them have got peaks, some of them have got bobbles, some of them have got tassels, some of them have got buttons, and that's who I am. And they will know that when they buy something and then wear something and use something time after time after time again, that you are the person to go back to when they want to either replace it or get a second item in a very similar vein. Niching is a really important part of this. It will build your repeat customers and it will build the rapport within your brand as well. Now this one is all about the words that you use. So when you're talking to somebody and they say, oh, what do you do? Oh, I sell my knitting. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Oh yeah, my friend knits. How long have you been knitting? Oh, quite a while actually, yeah. We are talking about knitting. You're not talking about the end product. So let's try that again. Hi there, what do you do for a living? Oh, I sell children's hats. Oh really? Oh, that's exciting. I've got children. They love their hats, although sometimes I must say when it's so cold they really struggle to get them on. And then you can say, well, yeah, I've had that problem too. But actually I make knitted hats and they're like monsters. They got teeth all over them. They got tassels and it looks like they've got teeth down the back of their head as well and horns. You go, oh really? Oh, that sounds fascinating. Maybe they would want to wear them. You wouldn't believe. I even had a child who had one of my hats. She wouldn't take it off. She wanted to wear it to bed for a whole week once she got it. And there's a whole conversation because they love talking about your finished item. They're interested in your finished item because you talked about your finished item. You didn't talk about knitting, you talked about the finished item. And then eventually you can go, oh, really? Did you make them yourself? Because I've never seen them in the shops. Yeah, I do. I knitted them actually. Oh, wow, that's amazing. And the conversation goes on. You're talking about the finished item, not the process. You're interested in the process because it's fascinating and you love knitting. You know all the time that goes into it. But it's the finished item, it's the photograph, it's the stories of how people use what you've knitted that makes more sense and connects with your customers much, much better. Okay, so this fourth thing is about selling your items in a way that people recognise what they are. If you have a craft stall and you just lay these things out, there's no height to them, there's no context to them, you're standing there in a summer dress, you're not wearing any of these items, they're going to kind of go, oh, that's something that's knitted. Is it a hot water bottle cover? Is it a tea cosy? And you'll go, no, it's a hat. Well, then you have to say, find a way of showing them being worn. Even if it's just a few photographs that you've printed off and put in frames, this is my hat being worn. I used to get polystyrene heads from eBay. I had 6 of them altogether when I was selling more of my knits at craft fairs. So they were dotted about the stalls. I had cardboard boxes that I would cover and put them on my stall as well. So then the hats were sitting on the polystyrene heads on top of the cardboard boxes, and it gave the craft stall height. It meant that everything wasn't just lying flat. It was all at different stages, different heights, gave you more interest. So give the items context. If you have tea cozies, then use a teapot and put a nice teacup and saucer next to it as well. It's in context. People understand what it's for. These items are meant to be used and your customers need to be able to kind of process that and think, right, that's what it looks like on a head, that's what it will look like with me. Also, always take a mirror. That's a bonus tip for you. If you go to craft fairs, always take a mirror. It means that you can just pull it out from behind your stall. If someone wants to try something on, there you go. What do you think? Oh, I love that on me. Maybe a different colour? That's even better. Put the mirror down again, take their money. There you go. It's that simple. So tip number 5 is to let people remember you. People will remember you if you think about it. If you are on Instagram a lot and they see you in their feed. What about if you're only on Instagram, you're not on Facebook, or even they don't use social media? Well, how about you set up an email list? Take their email details with all of the legal data protection things in place first. Say, I'm allowed to take this email, give me your permission. Make sure you use a proper email provider so that you're going through all of the correct steps when you set up an email list. But then you can email them once a week with a new pattern. You can email them once a week saying, I'm at this craft fair, will you join me? All of these things will say, top of mind, top of mind, top of mind, and they'll remember you. They know who you are. Number 6 on your mistakes to avoid is comparisonitis. I did mention this last week in the prices video. Looking at everyone else and saying, maybe I should be starting to knit scarves because they're knitting lots of scarves and they're really selling really well. Maybe I should be knitting tea cozies because their tea cozies are selling really well. And it's a massive store full of tea cozies. Who would have thought so many would sell, but everyone knows to go to them for tea cozies. But you're selling baby items and everyone knows to go to you for baby items. Don't start thinking about what they're selling. Don't think about their prices. Don't think about their colours. Think about your collection. That's where you need to go. That's where I've had to go with my knitting business. I am saying, I'm not selling enough patterns. Maybe I should give up patterns altogether. I'm not selling enough patterns. Maybe I should do it like they do. Maybe I should be on Etsy. But I teach. So my business is completely different to everyone else's. If I was focusing on patterns, if I had an Instagram feed full of my patterns, then I would be selling more of them. But that's not my specialty. My specialty is to teach knitting and to connect with knitters. So that is me. I'm not comparing myself to others, and I mustn't compare myself to others, because I am who I am and you are who you are. When you sell your knitting, when you have a knitting business, in whichever form it might be, then you need to think about you. Be inspired by others, but don't copy them, and don't think you have to sit there and be just like them either. That is your 5 tips, and then that 6th one, I don't know where that came from, because I suddenly came up with 6. There you go. So you have 6 tips for the price of 5. That's not bad going, is it? Right. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you again soon. If you've loved this video, give me a thumbs up, and do hit the subscribe button as well. Hit the little bell for notifications too. I will be in your inbox, in your little notifications from YouTube every Tuesday, every week when I release a new video. Thanks so much for joining me today. Bye for now. Happy knitting.